Everybody wants to argue about barrel length. 10.5, 12.5, 14.5. What works best? Well, the answer is it really depends on you. Depends on what round you're using, where you live at, what you think you might have to use your rifle for. So where I live is Wyoming. We have very long sightlines out here. I can go 5 minutes out of town and I can see for a mile, most any day. Currently, like most of you, my rifle is mostly used for shooting at the range, training some, and home defense. Right? I have a specific upper receiver setup just for home defense, but generally that is what my guns are used for. But what happens if the government loses their monopoly on violence? What happens if shit hits the fan? You might have to use your gun outside of what we think of as typical self-defense distances today. It doesn't hurt you to be able to have that capability. But it does hurt you if that were to happen and you don't have that capability. 5.56 is a very velocity-dependent round, right? All through the GWOT, we saw special operations guys running around with 10.5-inch ARs. A lot of them were doing DA hits, right? And they were using Mark II 6.2. Even them, if you listen to any of the thousands of podcasts out there, a lot of them comment on how after about 100 yards or so, 10.5 just wasn't it. It didn't have the juice behind it. So it behooves you to have a slightly longer barrel. You are going to give up some stuff. Yes, a 10.5 is better for CQB, but it sucks at distance. By that same token, an 18-inch SPR is fantastic at distance, but it kind of sucks for CQB. So real quick, we're going to touch on some things that I think are important on this gun in the current setup, right? So right now, I have Surefire SOCOM RC2 on the front. I think you should have a suppressor if you live in a state where it's legal. If you don't live in a state where it's legal, you should probably move to one where it is. Why? Well, remember that whole thing from a second ago on if shit hits the fan or the government loses their monopoly on violence? That's what this is for. It's not really for sound suppression, right? 5.56, even suppressed, is still kind of fucking loud. But what it does do is signature mitigation. That's kind of the intent behind it. It also works as a really damn good compensator, to be quite honest with you. You should also have a flashlight on there. Now, this one I'm using the T-Rex light bar. I know it looks awkward as hell. A lot of people hate on that, but it's just a personal preference thing. I hate suppressor shadow. It just drives me up the wall. Do what you want. You also need to have an optic on there. I like high mount optics. This is the Unity riser. Got a Holosun on there. Everything else on this gun is personal preference, and it makes no difference. Even how you mount your light or your optic. If you like a lower 1/3, cool. If you like your light mounted right to where the front of the bezel, it's right at the front of your rail, fantastic. Makes no difference to me. What is this rifle set up for? Well, it's kind of meant as a do-it-all rifle right now, and that's kind of the issue. So if you're going to build a gun for CQB, build a gun for CQB. 10.5 inches or so works fantastic in that role, but it sucks outside of that. If you're going to build a gun for distance, build a gun for distance. Generally, when you try to bridge worlds, you are going to be compromising in some way or another. That's not necessarily a killer. It might not ruin the setup, but you're going to have to give up things. In my opinion, where I live, the things that I do, and the philosophy behind why I set my gun up the way I set it up, I think 12.5 is not the answer. Now, out east, down south, this might be more applicable. Shorter sight lines, it's still a fairly dense place comparatively to where I currently am. Out here, very sparsely populated, very open sight lines. 12.5 might work right back there. Out here, I don't think it does. What am I going to do on this? Well, I've tried a bunch of things. I've swapped out the gas system. I tried a Superlative Arms piston system. Don't buy it. It sucks. We'll go over that more later. I've played with different barrel lengths. I have a 16-inch AR, but I want a general purpose rifle, so what am I going to do with it? Well, what I've kind of landed on is I'm going to build a BRN4. I'm going to do it in 14.5 inches. Its goal isn't going to be to excel at CQB. I'm never going to push it into that role unless I absolutely have to. Weird things happen, right? But primarily, its objective is to just kind of handle everything I need to handle and not necessarily be the best at any one of them. The 12.5 is okay for CQB. It's not bad at all. You can make it work quite easily. At range, though, the velocity loss I feel is too high. So what am I going to do about this? Well, I'm going to build a BRN4. I feel like for my use cases, it would be very beneficial. I also feel like 12.5 is too much of a compromise for distance. So I'm going to stretch the barrel out a little more to 14.5, see how that works. I liked it on my M4 when I was in the Army. I'm thinking I'll like it here. So that build is going to take place over a period of time. It's not going to be done quick. Unfortunately, I cannot just throw all my money into building that gun right now. Getting a few pieces a month, and when that's done, we're going to take and do an overview on that. I'm going to put a bunch of rounds through it, just like I have on this one. I've had this gun for years. I put a whole bunch of rounds through it. I'm going to do the same with the BRN4. We're going to see if that fixes the problem, and if not, cool. I was wrong. That happens. This whole thing is about testing things out, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't work, and sharing that knowledge with you guys. But I want to see how it holds up. I want to see what sort of accuracy I can get out of it. I've got the chrome lined 14.5 inch BRN 4 barrel already. I want to see what accuracy I can get out of that. I want to see how effective it is, right? I want to see if it does do what I think it will do. I want to see if it bridges that gap good enough for me. So if you guys are interested in that, please come along on the journey with me, like and subscribe. Let's have a ball.